But this is where I got to spend about 3 years of my life prior to COVID. This is the title is Performance Institute. It's 36 acres, and this is our office that I spent most of my time in a biomechanical lab, looking at data, breaking down individual athletes. And yes, this is a golf facility, but if you were to ask anybody that knows sports science, it's probably one of the top sports science centers in the world. We go through pretty much every draft pick that's going through for quarterbacks, working with Tom House, all the way to having Trout in here, having multiple baseball players, tennis players, you name it. They probably come through here when they're trying to look to figure out, okay, how can I be more efficient in my sport? And so that's how OnBaseU and RacketFit got started. And I was blessed enough to be with Dr. Rose when we founded these to be our vice president and take this around the world. And you'll see here that we put, we hook you up to a sensor system. It's a 12 sensor system. It's called an AMM. So it's looking from an electromagnetic perspective. And we can look at every single angle that you're at, up, down, flexion, extension, full entire 6D, not 3D. And so with this, what we're able to do is look and see how efficient that athlete is and how they're transferring power. And that's really important when you're working with a rotational athlete, because from a medical or strength conditioning perspective, we need to be able to look at these graphs and see if somebody is efficient just as much as we were to look at an x-ray or we were to look at somebody's video of their swing or their movement or their squat. So what it taught me is really how to break down the athlete instead of just thinking, okay, you've got knee pain or you've got hip pain or you've got thorax pain, let's just focus on that. It made me start to think about what is that athlete doing and can they physically do it? So this is the kinematic chain. This is one of our tennis players that came in. But you can see that he's hooked up. And so with that, having him hit tennis serves outside of the bay, we were able to take that information, correlate it to our tennis specific screen, and now say, okay, where is he limited in his pelvic rotation, thorax rotation, external, internal rotation of the shoulder, internal, external of the hips, ankle mobility. So it was really cool to bring the sports science in. Then you have the strength conditioning, because I know this is a web exercise seminar. So from a team approach that we're going to talk about a little bit later, a medical person really needs to understand their athlete in and out of the gym. Do they have a physical limitation that's causing either issues in the gym to make them inefficient, or is it helping them to be very efficient? When you look at TPI, there's not many athletes that they haven't touched, especially when Dr. Rose and Dave Phillips have been able to assess. And now you can see John Rahm down in the corner. He's #1 right now, and you've got a lot of other guys that are doing really well on tour. But in 1996, that's when Gray Cook and Dr. Rose and everybody started the FMS. The cool thing about FMS, TPI, and OnBaseU and now RacketFit is that it is also a data collection center. So when you look at some of the top athletes in the world and you look at special forces and you look at everything else, they've got data on all these different type of athletes. So now we can go ahead and say, okay, this is a normative. This is either you're in or you're out, or this is what the best of the best can do. Now, this is the game plan for today. We're going to go through several philosophies. Philosophies are really important when we're looking at our athlete in front of us, and more importantly, when we're looking at a client. Because if you don't have a philosophy in your clinic, you're going to stem off into some way or another, and you may be robbing Peter to pay Paul. So the first one we're going to go over today is the philosophy of sport, movement, swing.